everybody, it's Emily at ARC Schooling, and we're going to do a book haul today. So last month, I put myself on a book buying ban. So in the month of July, I didn't buy anything extra. So the only things I got were like my Nightworm subscription and like things that I had pre-ordered. And so this month I tried to maintain that and it kind of fell apart. I ended up with a lot of stuff. Let's just talk about what I have. So why don't I start with the Nightworm subscriptions. Every month I get a Nightworms package, and these are horror books. So it usually comes with 2 books. It's usually a paperback and a hardcover, and the hardcover is usually a new release. So last month I got The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay, which is really exciting because I recently read 2 of his books, A Head Full of Ghosts and The Cabin at the End of the World, and just loved them. So I'm excited to go on this whole Paul Tremblay journey and read everything he's ever written. So now I have his newest book. This is a book within a book because this is a man looking back on his childhood. He's writing a memoir and reflecting on this girl that he was friends with who he thinks might have been a vampire. And it's also the girl going in and like annotating. So like, and I just lost my bookmark that was in here. So like you can see her notes, and sometimes there's like entire passages in red that she's written like that. So like it sounds really fun and interesting. So it's very meta. And then the other book I got last month was Other Terrors, an inclusive anthology. So this is a book of short stories by various authors. So there's a bunch of authors in here that I've read, and some that I haven't read yet, but I'm really interested. So like this has Tananarive, who is an author I've been really meaning to check out. And there's also like Jennifer McMahon, who I also haven't actually read a novel by, but really would like to. And Stephen Graham Jones, Amakatsu. So there's like a lot of people in here that I really want to check out. So that should be a good time. And then this month, the Nightworms came with What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which I know is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's Fall of the House of Usher, which I don't know that I've actually read that. So I want to read that first before I read this. And this is a novella, so that should be a nice quick read. So that's something that's on my list of things to do very soon. And it also came with Black Tide by Casey Jones, which I've been seeing on Bookstagram quite a bit lately, so I'm very curious about this. I don't really know anything besides that it has to do with somebody at the beach and they become stranded and bad things happen. So that's all I really know, but like I really want to read more horror, so I'm excited for all of these. So some things that I picked up for school-related purposes with my 8th grader. I just discovered this book. It's a brand new release. I think this came out last week. This is The Milky Way, an autobiography of our galaxy by Moya McTeer. So I just read the littlest bit, but I think it's going to be so much fun. So this is The Milky Way telling its own story. And there's illustrations. I'm trying to find the illustration. I text a picture to my oldest last night because I was like, oh my God, Sarah, you must read this book. So this just sounds so fun. It's the Milky Way telling her own story of like what it's like to be the Milky Way, and like, so you're learning about space and astrophysics and everything from that perspective. The author is a woman of color, and she talks about like growing up in West Virginia and how much she had to fight to get to a place in academia. It sounds wonderful, and I'm excited to read this with my daughter. Then we're doing a whole horror thing this year. She's 13, almost 14. She's been desperately begging me to let her like get more into horror. And I've been putting her off until she was older, and I guess we're here now. So I have another book that I've talked about before. I bought this because I thought, well, you know, if we're gonna do this, let's really do it. Let's go all in and study. So we're gonna read Nightmare Fuel, The Science of Horror Films. So this is kind of more, where the other book is more like how to survive a horror movie and talking about like the mechanics of like what pieces you'll find in each movie. This is more about like what makes us afraid and like what they do with horror to make it scare you and like how your brain works and that kind of stuff. So this sounds like it's going to be really interesting. Both books have humongous movie recommendations. Like this one goes by chapter and tells you like all the horror movies she watched or mentioned in the book alphabetically by chapter. So there's a lot of stuff in here. And I feel like it's going to be really an interesting year. Also, side note, this is probably going to end up being something I fully write out and sell as maybe a high school elective for Build Your Library, because I feel like we're going to end up going all in on this. When it comes to like academic stuff, I kind of have to tiptoe around it to get my daughter interested. With this, I feel like she's going to let me deep dive and we're going to go all in. So I'm excited. And then the other thing I got for my daughter, or whoever else in the house might want to read it, I bought Buffy and the Art of Story, Season 1, Writing Better Fiction by Watching Buffy by L.M. Lilly. We're Buffy fans here. This, I'm curious to see what the author did here. If nothing else, I feel like I might enjoy reading it just to read it. But they literally this is Season 1, so they literally took each episode of Season 1, break it down, like, in how it's written and why it works. So like, for example, talks about funny language used, like banter and stuff. It talks about subplots that are happening. It talks about like how to grab the audience early on, reversals, misleading the reader, things like that. So it sounds like it could be really fun. My thinking here is that if I read this and think it's worthwhile to like study, then we would go back and like watch an episode of Buffy and then read the chapter, and then like I'd have my daughter write something. I don't know exactly what yet, but something like that is kind of my plan here. Next pile, these are all Holocaust related books. I watched a video from Lady Night the Brave. I'll link their channel somewhere, but they do like video essays, and I watched a video a while back where they talked about like what are the best Holocaust movies and the worst ones. They mentioned a movie called The Gray Zone, which I then went and watched and just thought was amazing. And then I saw that they did a video about that movie, so like literally breaking the whole movie down, and it's like a 2-hour video essay. But I watched it over like a couple of days and I was just like riveted by it. It was very, very well done. Highly recommend checking it out if you're a nerd like me. But I ended up buying these 3 books based on that video. I bought The Last of the Just by Andrei Schwartz-Bart, which was mentioned in the video, and I'd never heard of this, but apparently this is a highly regarded book. So it's about a massacre in the Middle Ages and a group of families who took refuge in a tower. God bless the only survivor of this pogrom, and they will be one of the 36 just men of Jewish tradition who shoulder the burden of humanity's suffering so that mankind can survive. And so this person ends up during the Holocaust. And I'm just super curious about it because I'd never heard of it before, and it sounds like something I would probably love. Then I also bought 2 books by Primo Levi because in my research and watching this video, I'm like, I don't think I've ever read anything by Primo Levi, and I should remedy that. So I didn't know which one to buy, so I bought both. I got Survival in Auschwitz, which is his memoir, and then I bought The Drowned and the Saved, which I think may also be part of his memoir, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Like, I know this is his memoir. I'm not sure if this is also like a continuation of, or if this is stories that he wrote about something else, but I really want to read these. And then, not related to that video, but because I read a middle grade book by this author, I wanted to read their adult book, and that is The Twins of Auschwitz, the inspiring true story of a young girl surviving Mengelé's hell. And this is by Ava Moses Core. An author interviewing her wrote a novel based on her story for middle grade audiences called I Will Protect You, and it's about her experiences. And I thought that was so well done, and so I really want to read her memoir. I had several pre-orders. I didn't have any pre-orders in July, which was why I decided to make it a no-buy month, because like I didn't have anything coming, but I did have some pre-orders this month. I got Bronze Drum by Fong Nguyen, and this is a Vietnamese mythology retelling, I believe. I don't know if this is mythology or history now, actually. Yeah, okay, this is a history book, actually. This is about sisters who were able to gather an army and fight off the oppressive Han Chinese. So, that's all I know. I was really curious about it because I haven't read a lot about Vietnamese history, and sisters rallying an army and leading their country, I think that sounds really interesting, so I'm excited to pick that up. Then I have The Book Eaters by Sunya. This is fantasy, but in this world, like, people eat books to gain the knowledge from them. So like when you eat a book, you then take in the knowledge of the book. And that just sounds fascinating. So I don't really know anything else about it. I don't know what the actual story is about. I heard that and went, yes, must have that. Then I got My Imaginary Mary by Cynthia Han, Brody Ashton, and Jodi Meadows. I've just been collecting this series. I've only read the first book, but I have a good feeling that I'm going to like all of them. And this one particularly, I'm excited about because this is a Mary Shelley story, and I just love anything to do with Mary Shelley, Frankenstein. I think this is going to be really fun. I can't wait to see where they go with this. This is like the most anticipated book of the year for me, or at least one of. This is Bloody Fool for Love by William Ritter, and this is a Spike backstory. I think this is set like right after Angel gains his soul. So Drusilla's sad because Angel has left them, and to cheer her up, Spike wants to do this whole like find her at this thing. I don't know what it is, but they go on a big heist. So it's a heist. It's Spike and Drusilla. I think Darla's in here. I just can't wait to read this. I have a really good feeling about it. I bought Babel by R.F. Kuang. I read The Poppy War last year, I think, and I really liked it, but have not continued the series. I mean to, at some point, read the rest of it. And I've been very intrigued by this, but this is the kind of book where I feel like I might not be smart enough to follow, but I'm gonna try at some point to read it because I just feel like it's going to be one of those books that sits with you for a while. So this is a fantasy, but it's like a historical fantasy. Robin Swift in 1828 is orphaned by cholera and brought to London, and he trains for years in Latin, Greek, Chinese, preparing for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation. The art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars, and it's made the British Empire super powerful. And so this is basically about an unjust war, and can powerful institutions be changed from within, or does revolution always require violence? I want to read it. Then I picked up a copy of The Marvelers. This is by Danielle Clayton. I think this is their first middle grade, actually. And I've just been really, really curious about it and decided to just pick it up. I'm going to maybe write a lit bite if I enjoy it. So I hope that it's good. It sounds really fun. All I know is this is like a fantastical, like magical school kind of scenario. And it just sounds like it's gonna be really fun. I'm working on the level 9 update very slowly. And I'd already bought a bunch of stuff ages ago because I knew that I was gonna use those for certain. But I've had like a running list of books for the last little while, I don't know, for like maybe a year. Since I knew I was gonna be doing updates, I have like a running list of like, maybe this would be a good in this level. So for level 9, and I'm just, you know, sharing this. Will these books be in level 9 for certain? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know yet. But I have these in my pile. So I have Kurt Vonnegut's Galapagos, a novel. I have never read anything by Kurt Vonnegut, but he's an author that I meant to read for years. So this is going to kind of force me to pick up a Kurt Vonnegut, basically. And this just says that Galapagos takes the reader back 1 million years to AD 1986, A simple vacation cruise suddenly becomes an evolutionary journey. Thanks to an apocalypse, a small group of survivors stranded on the Galapagos Islands are about to become the progenitors of a brave, new, totally different human race. In this imitable novel, America's master satirist looks at our world and shows us all that is sadly, madly awry, and all that is worth saving. So, it sounds like it would fit really well with level 9. Then I also have The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Hadden. I know a little bit about this book. I've often heard it recommended in place of Flowers for Algernon. I've heard really good things about it, but I've never read it, and I don't really know that much about it. So I've had it on my list that I wanted to check it out. I have Salvaged the Bones by Jessamine Ward. I know this is set during Hurricane Katrina and about like the aftermath of it. So I bought this because there's a lot of like disaster type stories I have in that level. So I wanted to read something by Jessamine Ward, and I thought this might be a good place to start, and it might fit in level 9. I have this book in my pile. I've had this on my, like, I need to read this list for a while. So now I own this book. I bought the ebook. Then I found it on Scribd and saved it there, so I have the audiobook. And now I bought myself a physical copy as well, because why not? So I have The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. I've only read one Octavia Butler. I read Kindred, and I really liked it, and I keep saying I'm going to read more Octavia Butler. So, I now own 3 different versions of The Parable of the Sower. I almost, this close guys, I almost bought the graphic novel version too, but I stopped myself because like, maybe I should just read this first. And if I like it, then I'll also own the graphic novel. But I don't need to buy it yet. But I know that this is a lot of people's favorite book. And this is also a lot of people's favorite Octavia Butler. This is an apocalyptic story, I think, or a post-apocalyptic. And I know a lot of people say it's like scarily like plausible. Kind of like The Handmaid's Tale in that aspect, only more so. And so, like, I'm kind of afraid of it, but also, like, I really want to read this. And John Green blurbed it, so it must be good. And then also in my pile for level 9, I bought The Last Neanderthal by Claire Cameron, and I don't really know a ton about this, besides that it's, like, set in the past and present day, I think? I might be wrong on that, but I feel like it's, like, 2 timelines. Yeah, so, yeah, it's a timeline in the past with like the Neanderthal, but it's also a timeline in the present with like an archaeologist studying about it. So like, it sounds like it's up my alley, like it's something I'm going to love. I've heard really good things about this book, so I'm hopeful. I have this pile of things. If you've used level 0, you know that I've had like an ongoing issue with like important books in that level going out of print and needing to be replaced. Like I feel like ever since I wrote level 0, one of the spines has been out of print and I keep having to go in and fix it. And it drives me crazy. And like after this last update, I'm like, surely now we should be good for a few years, right? Wrong. Because the Atlas went out of print and they updated it. The updated Atlas is a completely different product. Like the one I used originally was like perfect for a level 0 age audience, like 4 to 6 year olds. It was perfect for that. The updated one is more like a middle school atlas, and I'm like, why would you do that? Why not just have a beginner's atlas and a middle school atlas? Anyways, I am in search of an atlas that I like for that age group. And it's harder than you would think to find. So I have a couple things here. I bought the National Geographic Kids Little Kids First Big Atlas, or First Big Book of the World. And I don't know, I need to flip through these more in depth, but like it's an atlas. Like I don't know, it's nothing exciting yet. It is what it is. And then I bought the Smithsonian Children's Atlas, Children's Illustrated Atlas, and this is a DK book, which is why I'm hopeful that this will be the one. And this hasn't changed much over the years, so like I'm hoping that, and usually with DK, if they do an update, it's like the same book, just, you know, tweaked minor details. So I'm hopeful that this will be the new Atlas and Level 0. But then I also bought these two books because they both looked cool as maybe things I could add or recommend. So I have the Gold Stars World Atlas for Kids Fact and Activity book. It's for ages 5 to 9, and there's like lots of little fun activities and stickers and things in it, I think. So like, it has potential. I don't know yet. I'm gonna look through it and see. And then I discovered this. I thought it looked really fun. I don't know if this is gonna go in the level or just be like a recommended resource. But this is Africa, Amazing Africa, country by country. I technically already have a book in Level 0 like this, but I wanted to see how this one compares. And it is beautiful. Like, it's a beautiful book. So, like, beautifully illustrated. But this one is a little bit more writing. So I don't know if this is the right book for Level 0, but if you're doing Level 0 with an older child, this might be a better resource than the one I recommend. So this is probably just going to be a recommendation. And now, you think I'm done, but I'm not, because I got, I don't know if you can even tell. Yeah, there it is. I got a box from Book Outlet. I haven't bought anything from Book Outlet in like more than a year because I kind of banned myself from their website, because every time I go I end up buying things and I didn't need anything. But I got sucked in. They had a sale and I couldn't resist. So I bought some things. Let me just show you. I bought the graphic novel of Ruta Sepetys's Between Shades of Grey. I love this book. It's one of my favorite books, and like there's a graphic novel edition, so I wanted it. I bought Beware Princess Elizabeth by Carolyn Meyer. I've read this, but I didn't own a copy, so now I do. So, Carolyn Meyer writes like YA historical, like royals kind of stories. So like Mary Bloody Mary is one I own, and I think I include in a level somewhere. I think it might be in level 10. And so this one's about Elizabeth and her like teen years and the danger she was always in because she was heir to the throne. Her books are really fun. I bought The Lemon Tree. This is the young adult adaptation. This is an Arab, a Jew in the heart of the Middle East. And I'm just obsessed with this cover, which is kind of why I bought it. Also, it's the book I want to read too, but like it's beautiful. This is 1967. A 25-year-old refugee named Bashir Khairi travels from the Palestinian hill town of Ramallah to Ramla, Israel, with a goal to see the beloved stone house with a lemon tree in its backyard that he and his family had been forced to leave 19 years earlier. When he arrived, he was greeted by one of its new residents, Dalia Ashkenazi Landau, a 19-year-old Israeli college student whose family had fled Europe following the Holocaust. She had lived in that house since she was 11 months old. And so like they get to know each other and talk about their life experiences. So it just sounds like a book I wanted to read. I bought History Smashers, The Titanic by Kate Messner. I've been collecting these. I've only read one of them so far all the way through, but I really enjoyed it, and I've been wanting to get the rest of the series on my bookshelves. It's the Titanic. I don't know what else I can say about that. I have Eleanor Roosevelt, Fighter for Justice by Eileen Cooper. This is a biography about Eleanor Roosevelt and her life. Again, don't know what else I can say about it. It just sounded like it might be fun to have that on my shelves. I bought Jacoby by William Ritter because he is the author, and I don't even see it now. Yep, there it is. He is the author of Bloody Fool for Love. So I went ahead and bought this. I don't know, I think I had planned on reading this first, but I obviously have not. And now I have this, I just want to read it. So like, I don't know what I'm doing here. But I now own both of these books, so perhaps I'll read them both. Then I have Spectacle by Jodi, Lynn, Zdrock. This is historical fiction about a serial killer loose in Paris. I just like the time period and the place, and that there's a murder mystery, and the protagonist is a 16-year-old girl who writes the daily morgue column for her local newspaper, which I think is just great. One of my favorite tropes is girls in like historical settings who are like really morbid, really into like gross medicine, because any medicine back at this time period is kind of gross because they don't really know, like, there's a lot of cadavers, like dissecting humans and like experimental surgeries and things, which I just think are really creepy and fun. It's almost like horror adjacent. So I'm excited to see if I enjoy this. Then I have The Light Between Worlds, which I seriously bought this because I'm obsessed with this cover. This book is just, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's just a stunning cover. Like, I don't think I'm doing it justice. Can you guys take this in? Like, it's beautiful. All I really know is that this is Portal fiction. It's kind of historical. So this is like London during World War II when the children get evacuated. So like, it's sort of Narnia-ish, but I'm hoping better. So like, I'm very intrigued by this. I hope that I like it. Then I bought 28 Days, a Novel of Resistance in the Warsaw Ghetto by David Safir. I just really wanted to read this. This is, I don't know if you've heard of the uprising in the Warsaw Ghetto. Basically, they were coming to like liquidate the ghetto and send all the Jews to the camps, and a group of them had been like smuggling in weapons and things, and they basically went all out war against the Nazis and refused to be taken. I've been wanting to read this. My daughter and I need to finish it, but we started watching, I had to find it on YouTube of all places because I couldn't find it anywhere else. There's a movie, I think it was a miniseries on TV called Uprising. Lily Sobieski's in it, Hank Azaria I think is in it, and it's like a really long movie. I think it was like almost 3 hours long because it is a mini-series. So we watched the first part on YouTube and we have just not come back to it, but I keep saying we're going to try to find the whole thing not on YouTube. But unsuccessful so far. But this is a book about that event. And then finally, the last book in the box, I have Kid's Story. This is 50 Children and Young People Who Shook Up the World. I don't know what I'm doing with this. Technically, I don't have any children in the age range for this book. It's a little bit young for my daughter, but I thought she might like to flip through it anyway. I don't know if I'm going to use this in any Build Your Library levels or for any reason. I don't know what I'm doing. But I thought it was kind of an interesting concept of like, these are cool kids historically that did interesting things. So like Anne Frank's in here, Malala's in here, Pablo Picasso, Emma Watson, lots of interesting people that, you know, kids can learn about and maybe like learn more, follow a rabbit trail, who knows. So that's it. That is all the things I bought. I'm going to attempt a stack, but there's a lot here. I don't know. I'm going to stop there. Okay, so there are 36 books in the pile here. Actually, not in the pile here. There's some on the table. I couldn't quite manage the whole thing. But I bought 36 books. It's quite a lot, but as you saw, I have a purpose for every single one of them. Yeah, so I bought things in the months of July and August. Did you get anything new over the summer that you're excited about? What book did you buy this summer that you are the most excited to read? Let me know down below in the comments and we can chat about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.